Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Queen's Wish. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're chose to join me today as we go towards the lands of the West. Because, Oh, right, it's W, not M. We're going over here, and look at that thing, Home Warren over there. That looks really cool. But right now, we are headed in this direction, because last episode we got iron production, and I did a bad, and the bad has been done. The bad has, well, it didn't really affect the gameplay, fortunately, and bafflingly as well, because it's just +1, and we've been paying for iron for a while now, but it doesn't matter. There is a small group of slumped people stumbling around this fire. They're dirty and dressed in rags. At first, you think they are Okatish. When you get close, one of them looks up at you. It has a human shape, but it's clearly not human. The face is twisted and the eyes are mindless. He snarls. Person. Hello? The creatures all start to snarl. You've heard of these things. They are mirelings. You've fought these things quite a few times, in fact. But the narrator doesn't know about that. Mindless beasts in human form. They howl, person, person, hurrah! And then they lunge at you. And we are indeed fighting some persons. Right. Well, I didn't mean... they are people, evidently. But I meant as in we're fighting them who want more area of effect here. Probably not gonna get it. Yeah, it'd be good if I went up there, but I don't trust. Nah, I should trust. I shouldn't. I shouldn't have trust. Anyway, yeah, it's they're clearly people, and we're murdering them. I mean, that's the problem. Isn't that we're murdering them? We are murdering them, but the problem is that we're treating them as if they weren't people. Because murder is our business, and business is good. No, is that how it goes for that Megadeth album? No, killing is my business is the one. I know my Megadeth albums. That one's not my favorite at all, because it's the first one. I think it is the first one. I'm not really sure. If you don't know what Megadeth is, it's fine. It's fine. It's an old band. They're still around, I think. I'm not really sure. But anyway, killing is my business. And I say this because I just finished editing, as of recording this episode, I should say. I just finished editing. Let's see what I can do here with one of these. Evasion. Block damage. Really nice. I'm going to move closer. And we should be fine. Just finished editing an episode of Oblivion that, where I talk about the way they treat... Nice, very nice. The way they treat ogres. And in that game. So S for switch. I can't. I should have moved a little bit closer before. Either way, it works, and I should be able to get a heal. No, yeah, should be able to get a healing over there, and we're gonna get all of our energy back, maybe, potentially. You searched the camp. It was an abandoned merchant stop. The people here, obviously not the ones you killed, left behind nothing of value. The mirelings, who are not people, fouled everything that remained. Yeah, the way they treat ogres in that game. Now, ogres could be considered just monsters, you know, much like mirelings are considered monsters in, for example, Fallout 3. And I think Fallout 4 might have mirelings as well. Oh, also Fallout New Vegas has mirelings. I remember them showing up maybe only in a DLC. But in Oblivion, they specifically depict the ogres as having clothes and they have, like, tools and whatnot. So it's clear that they are, you know, not mindless creatures. And they just treat it like that, which is very worrying in that particular game. In this game, it is as well. Although, in this game, it's not worrying so much as you can understand it as being just a result of the character we're playing, which is the Prince of Haven. And there's a lot of that in the text, which is pretty interesting. You know, the fact that this guy is basically royalty and sees everybody else is beneath them. Of course, he's gonna see the What are they? What are their names? The Myrtlings? That's the one. Of course, it's going to see them as nothing. You find a survey marker. Haven's soldiers leave these to mark viewpoints where much can be seen. You haven't been to this one yet, so you look around. Because you are on the shore, you can see much of the Ukatish lands to the west. You take notes and clear your throat. I do apologize for that. And we have not much to see, in fact. Not much to visit either. This is just supposed to be a swamp? That looks really cool, actually. I like it a lot. But this is not a passage. The passage is this one over here. There's a spire. That's what that is. Actually, that is not what that is. That's just a tower. Or maybe a keep. Could be considered a keep. The spire would have to be on top of the tower. But that looks like the spire, except without any tower underneath. This is the main road from the Haven colony to Ukatish lands. It passes through the Mire Fangs, a series of sharp stone spires sticking out of the mud. A raised... It's another case of the powering up of a verb here. Sticking is less than sticking up. Although this is correct. It's just sort of funny. Sticking up out of the ground, that's totally fair. A raised stretch of dirt spans the marsh, but it is blocked by a series of towers built between the fangs. There was once a Haven outpost here, guarding your end of the passage and providing services to the caravans passing through. Now it is the headquarters of the West Battalion, one of the 3 main forces your mother sent to retake Sacramentum. This place is full of activity. Soldiers are repairing the roads and erecting tents, and when you arrive, all who see you stop and kneel. There is sure to be a commander here, ready for your orders. My orders, which are inevitably going to be take the fort, because you idiots. Why haven't you taken the fort right away? You freaking... I know why. Because gameplay mechanics. As you pass through the busy camp, you spot the officer in charge. He is sitting by the fire to the north, reading reports and shouting orders. He is young for a general, blonde. Shouldn't that have an E? I think it's correct as well, saying that. Jolly. Sure. And loud. When he sees your approach, he nods to you and sets his papers aside. He's been waiting for you. Where? Oh, General Ajax. Let's go with Ajax. The towers of the Mire Fangs fell into disuse long ago. To aid passage through this area, a long, rickety bridge was built over this stretch of water. What little travel entered the Ucat in Haven's absence crossed it. However, recently, a long section of the middle of the bridge was removed. Perhaps the Ukatish have already heard of Haven's return, and the news does not please them. Or perhaps they... What is the... Why is there a perhaps there? Are you proposing that perhaps it's not that? That they haven't heard of our return? Or even wilder, that the news pleases them? That perhaps confuses me. Excuse me. We have Ewan Barnett. Yeah, that has to be Barnett. Right? It's not Barnett. I don't know. Surnames can be pronounced any way you like, really, because, you know, it's all history, and in English is the way it is. You meet a general of the Haven Army. He's young, blonde, dashing, and handsome. He reminds you of Sutter. He isn't holed up in the stone hall. He's out here by the fire, watching over his soldiers personally. When you approach, he rises and then kneels. Prince, I'm General Ajax. I am honored that you have brought us here, and we are eager to act. You wait for him to rise from the Ukatish mud. He doesn't rise, though. I'm ready to report, he says. Go ahead, report, General. He stands. With pleasure. Our journey over the sea went well, better than expected. The 5th Army, the 6th Battalion, informally called the West Battalion. Wait, how... Is it... does it have all those 3 names? My god. There's no reason. There's literally no reason to have that many names for something that is not even addressed in the storytelling, in the storyline. Why? There's the 5th Army, it's the 6th Battalion, and it's the West Battalion. All the same thing, all referring to the same thing. And specifically, informally called the West Battalion. If it is informal, why are you talking about it? It's like, shut up about it. I don't care what people call your battalion. They could call it something silly or potty mouthed. And would you be saying that now? Anyway, 300 soldiers with full magical and artillery support. Full strength. Some are camped here, others are securing nearby land. We are at your service. I'm here to receive your orders and to give guidance if wanted. Yeah, wanted for sure. What is the status of the West Battalion? Which apparently I'm calling West Battalion, even though it's informal. But we can, I don't... We are at full strength. Our numbers are around 300. At this point, we have no concerns. There's no need for concern. There's no concerns. Is there anything I can do for you? He, shrugs. It's not your job to serve us. We're here to help you. Are you worried about being attacked? No, they have long memories, the Ukatish do. And I have hiccups, I'm sorry. They know that as long as we are attacked by a Ukatish... Wait, what? They know that as long as we are attacked by a Ukatish force of less than 4,000, we should be fine. Right. This guy strikes me as a bad general. Are you confident in your troops? These are fine Haven soldiers, best in the known world. Capital K, capital W. Best equipment, best training, high morale, solid organization. Our whole empire is built on the back of such as these. The soldiers cheer. The only thing that worries us is disease. That's the way Ukatish land skill. Fortunately, we learned a lot from our previous time here. I'll keep them in fighting shape. You'd probably think that an invading force would have to concern themselves with disease everywhere. But maybe not. Apparently, this is a different world from our real world. What if I ordered you to attack the Ukatish? Ah, your older brother was quite clear on that point. I'm supposed to use my own judgment to some extent. I won't send our battalion into a suicide mission in the swamps. To go fight, we first need allies in Ukat lands. Getting those is your job. Sure, I have some questions. You meet... okay. Then this is the text that happens when you go back to the question hub. You meet a general of the Haven Army. He says the same thing again. Okay. I'd like to know more about you. The general grins. I would be honored, especially as we'll be working together. This is my first mission as a general, actually. I was so thrilled to get the promotion, then I found out I was only getting a battalion, and then I found out the job. I couldn't be more pleased. Why is a general commanding a mere battalion? Because this job is important enough to require someone of my rank, but it wasn't possible to get a full army here. Don't worry, I could not be more happy with these men and women, volunteers all. We're ready for a grand adventure. Who selected you to aid me? Your brother, actually. Prince Sutter personally selected me, briefed me, described you, gave a lot of useful advice. It is my first command as general, so I am grateful. You wonder what... Oh, this is the narrator saying, you wonder what Sutter said. You're sure that Ajax wouldn't tell the truth if you asked. I don't think he's telling the truth right now, in fact. Apart from the irrelevant details of being Sutter, who personally selected him or selected him at all. What's your past experience? 3 campaigns against rebellious vassals, 2 with full engagement, 4 decorations in battle, no losses, no retreats. I'm no feckless son of a noble prince. Oh, that's interesting. I know how to deal with reprobates. And we just let that pass. The prince bit just confuses you. I'm saying... Oh, he says, I'm no feckless son of a noble. And for English speakers, I think this sounds like he's substituting... He's instead of saying son of a bitch, he's saying son of a noble. Now, that's what it sounds to me with my English mind, as it were. But it isn't... I don't think that's what it is meant to be said. I think this is is this a translation error or something? Is this because Jeff Fowle is Dutch, right? I think he's Dutch. I'm not actually 100% sure. I need to look into the writers and the creators and whatnot. I know he's working with somebody else to specifically the art is done by helped out by somebody else, but it used to be that the author of this game, or at least the founder of the studio, Spiderweb Spiderweb game, the creator of the game. It used to be that he was a one-man job or a one-man team, and he made a bunch of games like that for the longest time. He's got a lot of experience doing that. games like Geneforge and Avalon. Or Avedon, I never remember. And there's another one that has big series, like 5 or 6 games in each series. It's a whole portfolio of just expensive and pretty involved RPGs, but also spanning 3 decades now, I think. So yeah, a life of making games. But I don't know if he's. I don't think. I don't know that he's a native speaker. However, I don't believe English has the translation for a word that Portuguese has and Spanish has. I don't know the Spanish word, but I do know the Portuguese word, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a similar word in other Romance languages. So Dutch is not a Romance language. However, it could have that word. So this is me conjecturing. So in Portuguese, the word fidalgo comes from a very. It's kind of a roundabout way to. Well, it's not a roundabout way to say anything. It's a word that you use to say somebody who is who thinks too highly of themselves, and it's used at least colloquially, and it's literally used only colloquially these days. It's used colloquially to mean that as an insult, because they think too highly of themselves, and the too highly here being the operating word, the too bit, because it's not just somebody who thinks highly of themselves; it's too highly. So a buffoon, I think, is the word in English. However, fidalgo has the origin in the word son of somebody, which is it's a very old origin. It literally means son of a noble person. It's not necessarily a noble. It's because the definition of nobility is very tenuous, specifically when it comes to people of peasants, basically, who don't know if somebody is noble or not, but they are somebody, so they must be somebody. So being the son of somebody would make you entitled in like 500 years ago. You know what I mean? So where the word used to mean, in fact, the son of a noble, or specifically son of somebody, and so you would be somebody. It used to be used formally to mean somebody to have a noble status, but the usage of the word doesn't get used like that anymore, because it's just used as an insult, and it's also the derivation of the original word, which would be filho de algo. So you can see how how much it has devolved into fidalgo. But anyway, people who use the word fidalgo in Portuguese today may not necessarily know where that word comes from, even though it's sort of common knowledge, but people might not know it. And so I can see somebody using that word and translating that word specifically into this situation without really thinking of the consequences, or not translating, but submitting it to translation, because I can definitely see the English translation coming up on the word fidalgo and just being like, what the heck does this mean? And they look it up, and yeah, it literally means the son of a noble. And the translation would be like, well, that's what is in the text, right? Because translation is tricky. It's very tricky, and this translation is also a little bit spotty every once in a while. Specifically with these sentences, I cannot with these sentences. The super short sentences, the sentences without subject, the sentences without subject I don't mind as much, but the short sentences are so weird. But I think that is a translation error. It's just meant to be, I'm no feckless buffoon, Prince. I ramble about all the things. I'm very sorry if you don't like them. But I do suggest, like, if you're interested in the game and you're still here, thank you for being here, though. And if I start rambling and you don't want to hear me, that's totally fair. But you should skip ahead, because YouTube lets you do that, which is great. And so you don't have to listen to the rambles. But if you do enjoy them, and I know some of you do, and I can only thank you so much for enjoying that, because I do like rambling, and I do. What is your opinion of the Ukatish? They're dirty, he says. Right away. They smell. Not their fault. Just the way of the land. It leads people to underestimate them. Don't. They aren't well trained, but their weapons are excellent, and their unending hate drives them to great courage. could you be any more prejudiced against them? It's not like your it's not like your second part of your sentence is making you any less of a xenophobe, I suppose. It wouldn't. The race doesn't play a role here. There's some undertones obviously in the writing, but race doesn't play a role in this game, so it wouldn't be racist. But if they were of a different race or considered of a different race, then they would this would be just plain racist. But it's just xenophobic. But just like they aren't well trained, but they're pretty good at the weapons and stuff, and they get courage. You just said that they're dirty and smell, all of them, just all of them. And they are hate, unending hate. It's just like, yes. Could the Yukatish beat us in a war? Never, as long as we're careful. Once we can defend instead... That's sort of self-contradicting. Yes, if we're not careful. Once we can defend instead of attack, their barbed spears can do nothing against a good, disciplined battle line. Oh, right. The self-contradiction continues, which is sort of good, actually, because it just means that he's speaking from his heart, and he is conflicted. Maybe not consciously so, but he's saying that, no, we can't lose as long as we're careful. So, yes, we can lose if we're not careful. But then after that, he says specifically that we need to start, to be in a position where we are defending instead of attacking, because we're attacking right now. And once we are defending, this is just a weird way of saying that, once we are in a defensive position, then they can do nothing against us because we have a battle line, which is reminiscent of the tactics used by the Roman Empire. I wonder if that was an inspiration. I suspect it wasn't, because this is not really brought up. But the Romans had some really tricky and very smart ways of defending with their hoplites. Was it a hoplites? I'm not sure, actually, what the name of the troops were. Haven't played Rome Total War in a long time, which is where most of my the names that I know from Roman strategy comes from. But the Rome Total War doesn't use that strategy. Maybe the second one does. It's basically the soldiers stood in the front line with their shields. They had the Roman shields, the square ones with the little roundy things, and they had their gladii and their spears. I don't know what the name of the spears are. That's why I'm saying I'm not sure if it's the hoplites. And the way they worked is they switched the front lines. So they stood relatively separate from each other in their front lines. Imagine you're seeing a front line from above with the soldiers all behind over here. So instead of being one over there, one over there, one over there, one over there, they would be one over here and then a bit of a space. And then they would have somebody back here in that space and then over here again. So they would have a line that would just go forward with their shields and somebody would do the stabbing and vice versa. Sorry, I just smacked my keyboard. But that was it's not necessarily a very well understood battle tactic of the Romans, but it is a thing that allowed them to conquer a lot of stuff, specifically with worse trained troops. Because you see that time and again during the expanse of the Roman Empire that some battles probably shouldn't have been winnable by the Romans, and they were without many casualties. Generally, battles didn't have many casualties back then. Even battles that are famous for tremendous casualties only see like 10% losses on the losing side. So it's just a different type of battles back then, because people got the clue very quickly. They're like, I just saw my mates up there die. Okay, we're good. We don't need to fight anymore. It's fine. We lose. Shh, we're good. And that's how it went. For millennia, it went like that. And just fighting has changed considerably since since World War II. Yeah, I think it was World War II. There was this general that I don't know who it was actually, but there was this person that realized that a lot of the soldiers, the vast majority of the soldiers, didn't even shoot their weapons. I think it was like 60% didn't shoot their weapons, and only like 5% of the ones who did shoot, only 5% of them shot to kill. Because guess what? People don't like killing people. And so they didn't, or they didn't even try. And battles were won and lost like that. And you could observe this on the side of the Axis and the side of the Allies. It's just how battles were fought. And that's where specifically the Israeli and the U.S. armies developed strategies of training soldiers, conditioning them it's conditioning is the term, to want to kill people, basically, to sort of like be a reflexive thing rather than thinking, okay, that person over there that I'm looking at, I want that person dead, so I will shoot them. And instead, what they do these days is they train them, instead of like things like, instead of being a target, a bullseye, they actually put pictures of people. So they are used to seeing pictures of people on their scopes and all this sort of stuff. It's a lot more complicated than that, but it is an interesting thing as well that armies didn't fight to the death a lot. How would you handle an assault on them? I ask. They're swamps, says the general. Their swamps will be very difficult to invade. I wouldn't take one step into that mess until we... Oh, look at that word again. Until we have allies inside. We can't hold their lands by ourselves, but we can easily help one of their clans take over. Oh, it's going to be a clan war, huh? That's nice. Well, we're going to need guidance, but we're also going to need time. So, because we're out of it, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Queen's Wish. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment. Like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.